Good morning, lunatics. Welcome to Morning Java. Morning Java brought to you, as always, Dayon, by our very good friends at the Get-Go Cafe and Market that
Did
make...
you steal that from Cleveland or something?
I didn't know. Like, look, everybody said this, like, at the Cleveland game. Like, you're wearing
He's
Cleveland...
showing his Latang hair for you.
Yeah, I am. Dan Potash once told me, Sunday, if I had hair like you, I'd never put a hat on.
I'd
never put a hat on, so I'll toss it.
He knows Potash.
Anyway, brought to you by our good friends at the Get-Go Cafe and Market, where they make one of your favorite sandwiches in the entire world.
Yeah, it's the Pilgrim. We also now know why Taylor didn't want to be in this episode, because it's so ridiculous.
She's here. Shout out to the phone.
That's right. There it is.
What is not ridiculous is the way that the Penguins have managed to find a way to play hockey without Sidney Crosby.
They have, but I was going to, talk about something in this, and then I looked at a thing that you put on the live feed late Saturday night after the game, where you were referring to. It was a fascinating mention of Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby coexisting on the same team, and you said something to the effect of hockey fans being robbed. And my first thought when I read it was probably what everyone else's would be like, dude, no. And then a second thought was, you know what? That might be true.
Yeah, I was a Penguins fan before I started covering them. In 2009, I had hardware taken out of my ankle, and I finished the game as they won the cup, jumping up and down in my... they meant a lot to me, and I would have never in a million years wanted to see the two of them on different teams. But maybe it would have been better for hockey. I don't know.
When you see...
And Gino, other than the cups. You can't take the cups and the hardware
But
away.
when you see Evgeny Malkin step up the way he did against Toronto, and I think he's stepped up ever since Sid has been gone. It just hasn't gotten great results, I think in part because he didn't have the right wingers the way he has over the past game and change. When you see him especially, dude, on the power play, and he goes down to that half wall, he will never tell anyone this, but he loves it there. Okay? And the reason he won't tell anyone this is why? Because he has always deferred to Sid. Always.
I was watching that, and I remember thinking...
It was beautiful.
Man, I almost like watching Malkin get down in the corner more than I like seeing Sid. But, that'll never happen because he's so good.
Sid's one of the best puck retrieval guys, I think, in the game's history.
But the guy, when he's moving around more, when he's allowed to be more of the focus of an offense, when he's allowed to explore some of what makes him a great hockey player without playing second fiddle to anything. And it's not like the Penguins have ever treated him as second fiddle. But
on the power play, though, they kind of have. And this is what I'm thinking of. Okay, he's on the half wall. And unlike when Sid's on the half wall, Sid kind of stays back, sizes things up, and distributes. Gino does this almost Phil Kessel, for anyone who's forgotten who Phil is. But he does this almost Phil-like approach into the box.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Where Phil will dart in and then dart back out. And that screws with the whole box that the other team has going on right now, even when they're aggressive.
I was actually hoping that this season, without Phil Kessel, that the Penguins would add more movement to the power play.
No, they haven't. They've been passive as heck.
They haven't, but you're right. Kessel was one of the guys who moved more because the puck would come to his stick. He'd circle down.
And he'd threaten the shot. He'd threaten the shot. Sometimes he would even do that crazy thing where he'd come across the top of the box, and then the box would be as if the box were a real thing. But the box would be she didn't want to be on this episode for a reason. You get what I'm saying?
I do. I get what you're saying. It reminds me that my dad would always be like, "You got to protect the house. This is the house," and he'd draw it on the whiteboard. I was 8 years old. I'm like,
but Phil would rip it apart, and I think we've seen some of that with Malkin. I think that's going to begin solving some of the power play issues here. But in general, yes, Gino steps up, and it is fun, and you do wonder. It's a blast, man. It's always been like that. Anytime he's been having a mediocre run or coming back, takes him back a while to get back from an injury. For years and years, we saw the same thing, by the way, whenever Mario Lemieux would get hurt, which was a lot. Jaromir Jagr would step up and take his game to another level. He just had that sense of if we lose this game, it's on me.
Yeah,
it's a different feeling.
While we're talking about it, I thought it was really cool to watch some of the play between Jake Gensel and Evgeny Malkin. And I mean, after that game, you wrote about it, the wingers that he got to play with. But watching, like, a couple of the drop passes and seeing Malkin do things that he's always done,
Loves
but with a guy that, like, man,
he gets it.
Gensel, like, you look at him and the way he's played with Crosby since really he emerged, and you're thinking, like, oh, man, he just knows how to work with Sidney Crosby. I learned a whole new level of respect for Jake Gensel because the way that he changed his approach to the game to fit Malkin's, oh, man, it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
You should have written a drive about it or something.
I should have.